I'm Krista. I lead marketing and PR here at CRV. We have an awesome number of top-tier journalists that are here, and also a really great batch of CRV-backed companies. Some have been coming for a few years, and some people it's their first year. Tonight's panel is going to be moderated by Saar, who's one of our general partners. We've also got Deepa from Reuters, Marina from TechCrunch, and Angel from the Wall Street Journal. We're going to keep it short and sweet and get you back to mixing and mingling. Saar, I'm going to let you take it from here.
It's awesome to have you guys here. Thank you for letting me do the interview instead of vice versa. I'm not used to this role, and I'm actually a little intimidated since you're the professional. But I thought we'd cover a little bit about what's happening in media, and I am curious to get your perspective. One of the big things that's been happening, you guys represent publications from being 20-ish years old to over 100.
150 or something like that.
150 years old. Yeah. And yet a number of folks have gone off on their own, leading Substacks, et cetera. And I'd just love to hear, what do you think of this trend? What is the role of your publications relative to what you see out there? And also, how should founders think about when to approach you versus some of the folks running their own business?
The independent reporters who are starting their own Substack channels or in another kind of forum, they're doing really, really well. And I think the traditional newsrooms are definitely paying attention to what's working for them. And one trend that I've found really interesting that I see traditional newsrooms starting to incorporate is really emphasizing building that relationship between the reporter and the reader. Because if you send an email to Eric Newcomer's Substack, chances are you think that that email is going to be seen by Eric. But it's different if you're emailing hello@wallstreetjournal.com or hello@WSJ.com. And so one thing that I've seen traditional newsrooms do, and WSJ has done a bit of it, is these Reddit AMAs where readers get the opportunity to ask reporters questions about the stories that they're writing, the content of it, and how they reported it. So I think that's been a really interesting trend that I've seen the traditional newsrooms kind of take from the Substackers. And yeah, I think they're doing great.
I think where you might want to think about going to a traditional news outlet would be start areas where they're complicated. The stories are really complicated because we have multiple people that can work on a single story. There's sometimes many of my stories have gone into legal review. I have a lawyer that works for Reuters that is experienced to that kind of thing. So sometimes the tricky stories, the investigative stories, those kinds of things, that is where I would definitely want to go a more traditional place, because I guess solo operators are kind of out there. I mean, I don't know if that Substack legal fund problem has been tested,
right?
Not yet. TBD, but yeah, other places.
What irks you the most about people that have gone off on their own in terms of what they're reporting? Are they scooping you? Are they, is there anything? Are they not checking their facts?
No, a lot of them are really good and scooping me, which is
I think you have to be really good in order to be able to break off on your own. Not every journalist can actually do that. So I think if you are able to do that, and if you can do it successfully, you're probably getting a lot of scoops. Yeah. So it's not that at least for me, it's not that they annoy me. I look to their work, and often I'm oh, damn, I wonder how they got that.
Yeah.
So
they annoy me because they're so good.
Yes,
exactly. That's kind of the thing.
They're pretty good, but I also think that they are a little bit less strict with the number of sources they need to get. I think they loosen the rules just a little bit. If they hear maybe from one person that something is happening, they feel more comfortable writing about it. They report it kind of as a whisper story, whereas I think the traditional media will be a little bit less comfortable writing that because the standards are very different. Because I've seen Eric Newcomer say, well, we are hearing that such and such is happening, and they probably just heard it from one person. Whereas we would have to have 2 or 3 sources, and they would have to be more solid. One thing I absolutely love about the people who branched off on their own is that they can use a different tone. it's a lot less formal, so it's a little bit more fun to read, and it obviously depends on the reporter, but there's more of themselves there, whereas we are writing kind of with this more standard journalistic speed. Yeah.
That's a great point. Related, one of the questions that we often get from founders is about exclusives, and I just love to do a temp check on like how you feel about whether it's a funding announcement, a big M&A announcement, like exclusives and how that relates to
That's like a make or break for whether we do a story or not sometimes. Scoops are everything, and the way that scoops come to a reporter can be really different. Sometimes it's a collaborative effort with the sources. Other times it's more of a negotiation. And when it's no longer a scoop or an exclusive, that could mean that we don't end up writing about whatever that piece of news is. And I'm sure it's the same. Yeah.
That it has to be also though reach a certain bar. Like I don't write every funding story or every. There was a time where that was really true, but not so much anymore.
any advice on for those of us that are trying to get an exclusive?
Well, I think I have kind of a different opinion. Obviously, I'm at a smaller publication, TechCrunch, but I've seen exceptions to those rules where a lot of publications cover the same story, and it just has to be a very, very big story. Like when Google said that they're going to buy Wiz, I think their PR went to lots of people, and everybody covered that. So the bar has to be very, very high. Otherwise, we'll want to have an exclusive story because it just kind of feels sometimes like a waste of our time, like we even know somebody else has it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's valid. But you kind of also asked like what is the best way to approach a reporter, and I think a lot of it is just because to say hi. Like I think that is a really important thing that we don't see enough. I would love if more founders and investors and all kinds of people just reached out to me and said, hey, I have this company, it does X. I'd love to talk to you about X at some point if you're interested. They're not asking me for something and vice versa. It's just let's build a relationship.
AI is the topic du jour. It's probably impacting your industry as well. How do you think about AI today? Are you writing stories differently so that they get indexed, by ChatGPT? Is there anything that's happening in your newsrooms of how you're, finding sources that, would be interesting to the audience?
I don't know if it's changing the way we write, but I think it is starting to change the way we report and do research. And I think that that's probably common for a lot of industries, but like one tool that I started using that I love is Notebook LLM. It's just a really good resource, and it helps me save a lot of time. So like, whereas before, if I had to listen to 10 podcast episodes for a story, I can upload YouTube links of those podcasts into Notebook LLM, and I can just start asking me questions, and it can help find the answers that I'm looking for that might appear in like minute 7 of episode 4, which probably would have taken me hours before to find. In terms of research, it's definitely helping. And I think I was pretty resistant to embrace AI tools for a while, I'm going to be honest. But now that I've started adopting it, I really have noticed that I'm a lot more efficient.
Is there a rule about no writing with AI? I'm just curious. You do have that?
Yeah.
And how do you know?
I guess they don't. I guess there's like an honest policy, but I also think it's like my craft. When I write, I'm thinking, and it actually helps me refine my thoughts. And I will ask myself questions like, how do I actually know that? It's like part of the checking process. Yeah. So it's like so me writing is it's not like ancillary to the job. It's like the job, right? And it's important enough to make sure things are right in the future. So I think of it as pretty essential. I don't need to write every single thing. Like there are emails that I definitely dispatch with ChatGPT, and I use it to format lists. Right? I use it all the time, but not necessarily for writing.
I'll be honest, I use it for inspiration for headlines. I think it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I mean, I won't, like, 95% of the time, I'm not going to take the headline they suggest, but whatever it is that AI suggests, but it gives me like sometimes a different way of thinking about it, because headlines they don't come naturally to me. So I don't think we have explicit rules against using AI. And I think headlines is one of those things that, it could be anything. And AI is really good for inspiration. I feel like that's a really great place. People use it for inspiration in art and whatever, in design, and why not headline writing? So that's one place.
I feel like people are saying that like the giveaway that you're using AI for writing is if you use the end dash. Exactly. Like, I use the end dash, and I'm not using an AI tool, but now I'm actually like not using end dash. It's kind of that's like probably like the most direct way that I feel like it's affecting my writing. It's making me not want to write like ChatGPT.
Do you encounter those people that put typos in their emails intentionally because they want to make sure people know they fit? That's a thing. Do you do that?
Separately, I was here a fun story. My son wrote one of the most painful letters that had my wife and I crying of how much he hated us and wanted to move out of the house, until a friend of ours who was a writer looked at it and said, "No."
But yeah, it's definitely during our house. It's like, man, he's such a good writer, and this is absolutely so painful. We're crying, we're so upset. And then our friend was like, Melanie was like, no, he didn't write that. He just brought it up. Yeah, but it did the trick. It definitely did the trick.
Before we move on, just one other question. We had talked in our debrief earlier about the trend of just subscriptions, and separate from AI, TechCrunch, largely free. Is there anything about having you write that's different in terms of what's getting indexed, or just the general trend of all these Substacks that are either paid versus free, and how that's changing you?
I only had found that if I do bold to write a little bit looser, that has been put. It started out when I was at the journal. It's very hard, but it started out, and then it's like persisted a little bit. I mean, I've been at where it was for 2 months, but I'm already like pinching these, and then my editor is like, yeah, it's great at. And so I think that's actually been a great thing. I also feel like there's been more of an emphasis on scoops, exclusives, like stuff that no one else has. That has also been a thing, because AI can do a lot of things, but in terms of hauling out new information from like the darkness into like the light, that is a really complicated process. And I'm not sure we want AI to like obtain company documents and then publish them for people, but that is actually something that investigative journals do sometimes. And so I've been thinking more and more about doing that.
Yeah, I'm curious with TechCrunch, because so many things can be auto-summarized.
Yeah, and I am trying to go more towards kind of more the scoops and analysis.
Yeah.
Analysis. But even before I started the TechCrunch almost 2 years ago, I was sure, like, I didn't write any fun dating stories. I was like, it's going to be so easy for AI to write that. They're going to go away. And I'm finding that if you want to tell, even a plain company story well, there's no way that AI is going to do it all right now. They can maybe do things around the edges, but you have to figure out what are the right quotes, what's the company does. You've interviewed the founder, you may have interviewed investors. AI can't put that together yet. It may be 10 years from now, but it's nowhere near where she can tell a story and read it, so just can read it and figure out exactly, especially with some of the startups, they have pretty complicated business models. And to explain it in a very simple way, no AI can do it based on, having had the transcript and whatever, and the press release and every other document that we receive. So, I don't know, I don't feel AI is ready, but still, I want to go towards the more investigative or scoop, because that's something AI doesn't know. It doesn't know.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah, I think scoops are, not that they weren't ever a priority, but it's much more priority, I feel like, for a lot of newsrooms, because as much as I love reading, the magazine
feature-length analytical stories, those are the ones that I think like if you ask, you know, an AI LLM, like write me an 800-word story in this newspaper style, it can do it actually pretty well. But what it can't do is unearth new information. So you think about it, our scoops is what feeds the LLM. Yeah. And so I think like when we understand that, that's when we realize that our currency is new information and nothing else. So not that scoops like weren't ever important, but I feel like they feel a lot more important right now.
Yeah.
In the industry, in that news.
Yeah. I love that. I'm looking at the timer. I could talk to you guys probably for like 2 more hours about this, and I have like several more questions, but I'm going to leave it to the floor.